Welcome to Developing the Leader Within podcast, the podcast that brings you leadership insights from the brightest minds shaping our world. Join us as we dive into conversation with trailblazers, innovators, and change makers, spanning every corner of the globe. Get ready to explore new perspectives, gain actionable insights, and become the leader the world needs today. Unleash your potential. Tune into Developing the Leader Within podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Let's embark on this transformative journey together. Developing the Leader Within podcast, leading beyond limits.
Welcome to the last episode of International Month on DTLW Podcast. If you haven't subscribed, please do so right now, as it'll help us get our show to others and help us get to our next milestone. Make sure to catch us streaming on Parade Deck, on Roku and Amazon Fire TV, on the Purpose Place Network, and catch our exclusive members-only content Going Deeper Within on the Lions Guide Academy. Today, we are speaking with Antoni Tzavelas, my friend from a long while, and he is back with us, and I am so excited. Antoni is a keynote speaker, certified ICF EQ coach, and human connection specialist. He helps HR leaders equip their culture with the EQ skills to handle tough conversations, and we know those happen, and maximize retention.
More often than not.
Right. Maximizing retention. Antoni, welcome to the show, brother. It is nice to have you back.
Oh, Enrique, it's such a pleasure to be here, and yeah, I am back. I remember it's been a while, but yes, being back, this is amazing, and I've seen how far you've grown, and I'm honored to be a part of your journey.
And we're honored to have you, brother. Folks, we will be speaking about EQ over ego, the secret to tough conversations and retention. But before we get into that conversation, Antoni, tell us a little bit about you for the people who are new to our show.
So for those of you who missed it, I'm Antoni Tzavelas. I'm a leadership coach, keynote speaker, and I help people stop avoiding the conversations that matter using emotional intelligence. And so I spent the past 20 years in tech as a systems administrator, cloud engineer, DevOps engineer, cloud trainer, team coach. And I love the logic, the puzzles, the innovation. But what fascinated me the most was the human side of work. The awkward silences, the tension under the surface, the we're fine when we're clearly not. And of course, what happens when humans connect and work towards a shared common goal? Because that's where the magic is. And that's what led me to coaching and emotional intelligence. So today I help HR leaders, as you said before, and people managers build emotionally intelligent cultures that people actually want to be a part of. So it's not just about happy cultures, but honest ones, where feedback is real, where connection is strong, where people stay not because they have to, but because they want to.
Well, I'll tell you, Antoni, as you said, we're fine, I dug deep and realized, ooh, I used that one, right?
Yeah.
And it is one of those things that you must really come to grips with. Are you brushing off those conversations that really do need to happen for the sake of saving face or skin, right? Sometimes
Yes,
there's some skin involved. But if we're not fine, we need to say that we're not fine.
Exactly.
So let's talk about why there's such a gap between our feeling and the connection to actually converse about it. So what are some are the most common emotional intelligence gaps you see in HR leaders today, and how do those gaps affect employee retention?
Yeah. So Some gaps that I see the most of are actually three of them are self-awareness, empathy, and a competence called reality testing. So let me give you a quick example. So years ago, I worked with a leader who didn't realize how harsh their tone came off in their one-on-ones. They were giving what they thought was helpful feedback, but team members were walking away feeling not supported. And they had no clue as to why. And it was the lack of emotional self awareness. And when we worked on that, just naming the emotion behind their delivery, the frustration, disappointment, even fear, it softened their tone and it made their feedback land better. So people started saying they stayed, performance improved, all because they stopped steamrolling and started tuning in. Now, when it comes to empathy and reality testing, it works the same way. So without empathy, you'll think a disengaged employee is lazy. How many times have we heard that, right? And not burnt out. But without reality testing, you'll spin those stories, you know, the stories that go on in our head. and then we start treating them like truth. And those gaps don't just kill connection, they kill retention. And then people leave when they don't feel understood. And they almost never say it out loud. So a combination of those three, I find, are the biggest gaps that I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, I agree. And talking about things that people don't say out loud, why are tough conversations so often avoided in the workplace, and what are the cultural costs of not
Yeah.
addressing them head on?
Well, we avoid them because it makes us feel exposed, like we're vulnerable and we're afraid to be wrong, to look like a jerk, to make things worse. but but what I've learned is that avoiding hard conversations, they don't make them disappear. It just makes them bigger. And I'll give you an example of my own life. So there's a time when I trusted someone deeply and it brought them into a big opportunity. And they broke that trust in a big way, badly. And it wrecked me, Enrique. I mean, it just destroyed me. But using emotional intelligence, it taught me that instead of letting that pain harden me, I used it to practice empathy, to practice boundaries, and to practice clarity. So now I'm not scared to invite trust, but I do it with my eyes wide open. And in workplaces, when you avoid honesty, resentment builds up and it happens in silence. You don't get peace. You get performative politeness, is what I call it. And eventually, you get turnover. So, what can I say? Tough conversations are hard, but avoiding them is worse.
I agree. There's been many of tough conversations that I have not engaged in that have turned into something bigger than what it initially was at the time, right? And
Yeah.
so, avoiding it, avoiding the conflicts is something that we do. And we often do it because of all the reasons that you shared. So, how can organizations move from a reactionary to a proactive culture when it comes to handling interpersonal conflicts and performance issues?
Yeah, well, Enrique, let's face it, you can't wait for the fire before you teach people how to use a fire extinguisher. Too many organizations only deal with conflict when it hits crisis mode. But culture is built in the quiet, not in the chaos. So You want to be proactive. And that's where you make emotional intelligence part of your everyday. So when I was in tech, we had all the agile processes nailed. But when a sprint derailed, it was never the process, and it was always the people. So one person shut down, another got defensive, no one said what they really meant. So imagine if instead of reviewing velocity, we reviewed how we showed up emotionally. And that's what emotional intelligence brings. It normalizes emotional check-ins. You know, when we talk to each other, that that leadership role where you come in and you actually talk to people about how they're feeling, what are they going through at that time, because we don't know. So and then on top of that, teaching people how to pause before reacting, it builds conflict agility before the whole thing blows up. And so a proactive culture doesn't avoid this conflict. It builds capacity for it.
Yes, it does. And as you was talking about that, I envisioned the chaos that comes by all of this. There's this thing we call psychological safety, is something that we long for, is something that some people have at their jobs. So what are some practical EQ based strategies HR leaders can implement immediately to build psychological safety within their teams?
All right, well, I'm going to keep it real with you. Psychological safety isn't built in one team building event. It's built in many micro moments. So here's a few that those who are listening can start with today. Say, I got that wrong out loud. Not once, regularly. Whenever you mess up, it's okay to say it. Instead of saying what went wrong, say, what do you need to move forward? So having that mindset really puts you in a forward motion. And here's my personal favorite. End meetings by asking, did I miss anything important that we didn't talk about? And let me tell you, even outside of the workplace, this works beautifully. A perfect example, one morning after an absolutely brutal week where I had a deal fall through. Actually, this happened last week, that I was sure was in the bag. I was wrecked, fully derailed emotionally. And I was stuck in this sadness loop. And so I grabbed a pastry to comfort myself, like, you know, a lot of us do, and sat there thinking, how do I keep showing up when things feel like they're falling apart? And the answer, of course, was emotional intelligence. It's not pushing the sadness away, but recognizing it, naming it, and choosing not to let it lead. And that's what builds safety. When we stop pretending we're always fine and start modeling the full human experience.
Yeah, very powerful. Realization of what you have and when you have it
Yeah.
is key to pressing forward, right? And so some HR leaders are listening right now and realizing, hey, we don't have some of these elements that
Yeah.
we need. So, in your experience, how does strengthening EQ skills among HR professionals transform the broader organizational culture over time?
As we all know, HR is the undercurrent of culture. So you're not just writing policy, you're showing people what leadership looks like. And so when HR leads with emotional intelligence, here's what changes. Feedback becomes less scary. Mistakes become learning moments, not shame spirals. and people stop gossiping behind backs and start talking face to face. And here's the ripple effect. I've coached HR leaders who started practicing emotional intelligence skills like empathy check-ins and courageous conversations. And guess what? Their leaders actually took notice. Their teams became more open, their influence grew, and the culture began to shift from fear based compliance to trust based connection. And so when HR models emotional intelligence, everyone else learns that it's safe to be human at work. And when it's safe to be human, people stay.
Absolutely. And it trickles to the leaders, right? Those that
Absolutely.
are under the structure of the company start to see this in play and know that that's the way that you want to lead. And so thank you, Antoni, for all of that you have shared. Now, I know that you've transitioned. Our last episode together was on tech. And so now we're talking about EQ.
Yes.
So, what do you have coming up, and where can the viewer or the listener follow or support you?
So okay, there's two answers to that. With regards to things that are coming up, I have this brand new workshop and a webinar series called Fix the Friction. And this is identifying toxic behaviors and starting to turn your culture around. So we're building real world emotional intelligence skills for hard conversations. This is for leaders, HR pros, and people managers who are tired of the surface level fluff and they want real tools to deal with real tension. And when it comes to following me on my journey, most of you can find me either on LinkedIn. I practically live there, or you can go old school and go to my website at smilingbowtie.com.
All right, folks. Well, we will have all of that information as part of the show notes and video for you to get a hold of Antoni and help support him in his endeavors and allow him to support you, right? If you're an HR professional, you're looking to maximize your EQ proficiency, then Antoni is the one to talk to. Folks, today's episode is sponsored by the Global Trends Magazine, The Outlier Project, Fantail Services, Southern Sweet and Sassy Coffee, Ascend Meditations, and Chop AI. If you've enjoyed this episode and learned something interesting about the topic covered today, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and let us know by leaving a comment. And tune in next week for another episode where we dissect leadership from another angle. And as we like to end the show, success to you.